Welcome to Comics League Dark. I'm Jared, and I got JJheat with me. What's up?
Hello there.
General Kenobi! So today, nothing really happened this week that would be really worthy of us doing a show. So we're going to take it pretty chill. Just kidding. So we're going to talk about all the stuff going on with the DCU. So first way we're going to address this is by talking about the Wonder Woman news this way, because here's what you have to realize.
Disclaimer time.
Yeah.
Nothing has been directly confirmed as of the time of this stream.
Except for maybe the Wonder Woman stuff.
Which we will get to in a moment.
So the Wonder Woman stuff, I actually want to hit that one first. You can't act like this was any surprise after what happened with 1984. And by the way, according to Hal Jordan, they have all of the Justice League apparently watch the show. So I think Warner Brothers is still trying to, they're still making Wonder Woman, but with a different director.
Please.
And you're right. Patty Jenkins walked out of Wonder Woman 3, so there'll be a new director, Gal still Wonder Woman. Hell yes. Like I told you, I know. Here's the thing. Here's what I want to make sure that the audience hears. Hey, Lawrence, what's up, dude? So before I talk about this, all right, like JJheat said earlier, nothing in that article was anything definitive. Because first off, James Gunn himself said no one knows the plan except Safran and myself. Third off, the article was very open that it was conjecturing that Cavill and everyone was going to be replaced. So everyone took that as, oh my God, they're being replaced. No. I was very carefully reading this in preparation for this show. And I was like, he didn't say that.
And I will play devil's advocate, especially if you go back from the Hamada regime. A clean slate, and with the Flash movie getting extended to 2023, a reboot would be appropriate, but it was solid. You got solid casting, and arguably double casting with Momoa as Aquaman and Lobo. You just have too solid of a cast, with two as the exceptions, two of which I will not directly state by name due to various controversies.
And okay, the reboot's happening. It's just a soft rebirth style reboot where they come in, they change a few things and tighten up the continuity, but they're not replacing any actors, at least until we get one more movie to resolve everything.
Make Batman relatively younger so you don't have a full Batman Returns vibe. Change the Jason Todd Robin dying instead of Dick Grayson if that behind the scenes panel shot was actually canon.
And to quote, and Hal Jordan here says, I still can't believe she still co-wrote Wonder Woman 3 with Jeff Johns. Let's not forget. All right. So what happened with Wonder Woman 1, she co-wrote it with someone else. I forget his name, but it wasn't Jeff Johns. That's why it was so good. Because when you think about it, when you look at Jeff Johns, that's one character that he cannot write. Wonder Woman. He cannot write her to save his life.
God, no. And Wonder Woman is very believe it or not, regardless of what you feel about the Trinity, Wonder Woman is very three-dimensional on her own right. She's more than just an icon. She's very three-dimensional.
Oh, yeah.
But you easily fall into a lot of narrative writing traps, especially nowadays with certain hacks. Is that an appropriate way to call them?
Yes.
Hacks?
And Tevia, we're going to get that. I'm sure we are going to. Wonder Woman 3 is happening. I'm fairly certain Man of Steel 2.
And I'm just going to make this quick disclaimer. Henry Cavill left The Witcher for this. You really think they're going to dump him?
He wouldn't have left the role unless he had some guarantees that they wanted, unless like the leadership said, we want you as Superman.
And Warner Brothers Discovery is not in a position to pay out contracts.
And Nightwing will appear. Yes, that's one of the things I think they're going to fix is they're going to switch the dead Robin from Grayson to
Jason.
To Jason, which Zach himself has said that based upon how it works, I'm pretty sure that even Zach thinks that's a mistake. So basically, no. No one said that. All we're saying is that if they reboot, like completely reboot, it won't be until we get a Justice League movie to wrap everything up.
Though I will agree, Bruce X Lois and that. Okay,
and by the way, Derpy, real quick. No.
Play
First
the
off,
clip because he's obviously trying. Just play the clip.
what clip?
Batman is dead.
No, because I'm not going to acknowledge that because this is toxic behavior rolling in here and just blasting us. We're just address. You can't blame us for thinking there is a legit path to this coming back. And by the way, how am I a cultist? We had a segment last week talking about the weaknesses of Zack Snyder.
And really, I'm just a fan of comics. The most fan I want is the best way for these characters to be represented. I will admit that to an extent, fan bases can be toxic, but don't be flowing that around.
Yeah, and you come in here with this aggressive. I'm like, dude, okay. So anyway, I'm not going to acknowledge that anymore. So my Wombat, yes, I get the feeling we're going to stop constantly getting origin because we know how Batman's origin. We know Superman. I could go off into my neighborhood, randomly knock on doors and ask people, do you know Superman's origin?
Crime Alley, taken in by his butler, comes of age, uses his wealth and inheritance to travel the world to be the best of the best, dresses like a bat, starts kicking some ass.
Yeah. And, yeah, we're still because here's the thing. If those 2023 movies like Flash and Aquaman do well, it makes it even more likely that they're going to keep everyone.
Oh, Aquaman 2 is going to be solid. Problem is going to take a little bit of a nosedive because of She Who Shall Not Be Named, but it's going to make somewhat of a profit.
I'm going to acknowledge this one more time. It's different when you come in here and start blasting us and telling us to cry, dude. Yeah, that is toxic behavior, dude. Sorry. That's all I'm going to say on that.
And I will just give him this. We want better stories. That's not the issue here.
You can't tell. Oh, by the way, Snyder's not responsible for Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 1984. No, he's not responsible for any of that. Oh, and Justice League. He's not responsible for any of that. So that's all I'm going to say. Yeah. Oh, okay. Good. So those are the ones who co-wrote Wonder Woman. That's partly why it was so amazing. Oh, and also, for right now, it looks like Affleck is still Batman. So there you go. And yes, I wish that we could move on from the Donner version of Superman, because guess what? That was the like we said at one point, this was the pre-Silver Age Superman. That's not relevant. That's not Superman anymore. Superman gets dark.
Yeah, Richard Donner was very Golden Age. And Golden Age Superman, and people think Superboy Prime was overpowered. Golden Age Superman, God.
Lawrence has got a garbage leadership. And by the way, Tevia, okay, so here's what you have to understand. People hear Batman Beyond movie and think, oh my gosh, we almost got a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton. No. Wait. As JJheat and I discussed this, it was going to be, first off, Batman Beyond in the modern day. It wasn't going to be in the future or anything like that. So it's another one of those occasions where they take an important part of the story, change it for no reason.
Okay, basically, imagine what the canceled Gotham Arkham Beyond with Damian Wayne was going to be. Essentially, Batman Beyond with no cyberpunk aesthetic.
Yeah, and part of the reason why that show was so great, and yes, it was Silver Age. That was Silver Age Superman. Was the Christopher Reeve Superman?
Yeah, they carried over.
For the most part, but I would argue Snyder's Superman was the post-crisis New 52 hybrid Superman, and to a certain degree, in terms of the story.
Definitely took creative liberties from both. I will concede that.
And combine it a little bit with the Dark Knight Returns Superman. So there you go. Plus, the Donner version would not. No, that's what I keep telling people. It doesn't work. And here's the thing: that worked for that time period, 100%. And let me put it this way:
even the DCU to an extent.
Let me be clear. The movie is not a bad movie. It's not a horrible movie by any means. No. I like it. I just don't want that to be the main movie Superman. I'm okay for Superman to smile and be happy. He was in the Snyderverse, but that's all I'm saying there. All right, it was Batgirl and Birds of Prey screenwriter writing the Batman Beyond movie. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Do not want that. That's the way they get you. They have the trappings, but it's crap writing. Because a Birds of Prey movie should have been great. And by the way, Hal Jordan, I could not agree with you anymore. He is this generation's Christopher Reeves. He is the Superman.
Very solid casting. I'll give him that. Very solid casting.
And I'm interested in what Gunn Safran's plans are for the Green Lantern Corps. Dude, me too. Me too. Here's what you have to understand about James Gunn. He is a comic book fan. This is, remember, throughout all of my but all I'm saying is Snyder legitimately want to get. No, he changed that plan so you're not operating on on accurate information. He actually said that was in the original version. I changed that in the version that we were going to get in movies. In other words, that was like a first draft thing.
Derpy, that was a first draft that barely made the storyboard. And even then, even if it did go through, that would still be a studio decision because this would be during the period where Superman was technically dead after BBS, and they wanted to spur up some melodrama had this gone through. Yeah. It's contrived as hell.
Yeah, the story was already changed. Yeah, in other words, what happened is that was in Snyder's original first draft. Then what got put on, that was like the storyboards. Then they revised that before they filmed anything. Before Snyder even touched Justice League, that was changed because he realized, okay, that's dumb as hell. So there you go.
Not to mention, Bruce and Lois had no chemistry in BBS, not even in the Ultimate Edition. They may have interacted.
They never even interacted.
Maybe twice, if we're counting the Martha scene.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, yeah. So, and by the way, yes, that is a massive red flag. When you see it's the Birds of Prey and Batgirl screenwriters, that is yes, Tevia, you say a lot of stuff on the show that we don't agree with, but this right here we agree with. Because that's what they do. They give these crap writers the iconic characters because then they're like, okay, so people will still go see it. No. I am still wondering, will James Gunn give us a suit? No, we're not going to get a John Kent Superman. I see what you're doing there. We're not going to get a John Kent. Oh, by the way, I think Blue Beetle's going to do pretty well because
as long as they don't make him DC Spider-Man, because they could easily fall into that trap.
They could easily do that. But let me put it this way. You can take some elements of Spider-Man, like him being the young character that's learning how to be a superhero, but don't make it like legit, like 100% Spider-Man. And here's why I have confidence in Blue Beetle based on the suit. The suit looks great, and they're getting the movie budget for the CGI, so it's only going to get better. If you're starting with that as the base suit, I'm totally fine with that. And yes, it should be okay. So with the Wonder Woman thing, like I said at the beginning of the stream, you can't be surprised this happened after 1984 because blame whatever you want on that. You ignore the fact that did abysmally in terms of cash. And by the way, I'm actually really looking forward to Flash and Aquaman. I'm going to say that.
I've seen a lot of bad comic book movies. I've seen Smallville. I've seen the Arrowverse.
Smallville was not that bad.
No. Smallville was great for what it was, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
Cats. What they did to Cheetah.
Yeah, that was Cats. That was horrible.
Armor. I cannot forgive that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're probably going to do a Titans movie. That's probably why they're ending the show so they don't have any conflict. So, but ignore the money thing. Ignore the concept that it lost money. And by the way, the Bruce Timm universe is not relevant.
Here we go.
Listen,
Jared, let me handle this.
Go ahead, dude.
Let me handle this. I feel I grew up with the DCAU. I'm a 90s kid. I understand. And yes, it was solid. But what's in cartoons does not directly correlate in live action.
Let me put it this way. Bruce Timm arguably has lost his writing ability if you've watched The Killing Joke.
I knew you were going to throw bats.
Watch The Killing Joke. Ignore the I'm not even talking about Wonder Bat on this. I'm talking about the fact that he took arguably one of the most iconic Batman stories that should have been one of the best Batman animated movies of all time, and he crapped on it.
I will play devil's advocate on that because
arguably they didn't understand the characters. Arguably they didn't understand the characters. That's all I'm going to say on that.
But I will concede this. The average DC original movie or anime, whether it's a continuity or not, the average movie is 84 to right at 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. And if they did a direct adaptation with Killing Joke, with Barbara getting shot and everything leading up to the final battle, they would have had an extra 30 minutes. So you could argue he squeezed that in for the sake of padding.
But there's better stuff they could have put in there for padding. That's the key thing there. And they didn't do it. I agree. And to be clear, I like the Timmverse too. I don't like a lot of the character decisions they've made. And dude, just because it was written well then does not mean it will be written well now. We've had plenty of writers that have written well back then and have look at Frank Miller.
Bendis. Need I say
Bendis.
more?
Remember, he was I have Siege, Secret Invasion. I'm like, this is amazing. Then you read a Superman. So question, didn't Brian Azzarello also write the Batgirl? Yeah, that would not surprise me.
Yeah.
But my point is, just because someone wrote, take away the nostalgia goggles, because they're not gonna, they can't do that.
Just put it to the side. Just
put it to the side, because that was good for that time. It's the same thing as the Christopher Reeve movie. That was good for that time. It's not always going to work for a modern audience. We're approaching this as comic book fans too much. We have to approach this as people that don't read the comics and don't necessarily embark on these characters, because
general audience is king in movies.
Look at the MCU. They changed a lot of those characters to fit the MCU, to fit the general audience.
The only one you could argue stayed the same is Tony, but that's because he's such an egomaniac.
Yeah, if anything, and like Thor, they ruined, but that's beside. They ruined it because the general audience wanted it for Ragnarok. That's what I'm going to say right there. I just want to know how James Gunn is going to do anything with Deathstroke. He is going to do stuff. I've heard that they want to bring Manganiello back.
Depends on whether or not we're going a Titans route or that original Batfleck movie route. It would depend.
And yes, Tavia brings a good point in terms of Bendis. The Naomi stuff, the Young Justice, and the Superman. The holy trinity of crap.
Naomi's an exception because Naomi was specifically created to catalog and justify her series. She did not have the establishment of.
And he put her on the Justice League. I could see her on the Teen Titans, the Justice League.
Maybe a Young Justice roster when she get eventually settled into.
What's hilarious is that in Dark Crisis, here's another good part. When John is going around recruiting the Justice League and they have that 9-panel grid, it shows like all of the members being recruited. It shows Naomi. She goes, I should have been there. And I'm like, is Williamson saying she should have died? And yes, the general audience cares about continuity and characters. They care about the version that they're seeing on the screen at that moment, and for that to stay consistent. That's it. My point is what people want to see, though. But if James Gunn has a plan, tone should be similar to that era of DC. Doesn't necessarily mean no. I'm not saying the tone, because he could have a tone that's way different than the other one, because he's going to base the tone not off of any like things that we like as comic book fans, based on what the general audience wants. That is it. That is
general audience is going to take precedence at the end of the day. And and I will play devil's advocate with you, but even in terms of all that, Snyder not only got dealt a bad hand, he was constantly undermined by the executives. And not only did we get Justice League, they used the death of his stepdaughter's suicide as a cop-out.
And mind you, hang on. Snyder did not want to go from Man of Steel to BVS to Justice League. He wanted to do more, to have more of a setup, by the way. And Warner Brothers told him, no, we need the Justice League now. We need Batman now.
Bandwagon and catch up to MCU.
And then when he was fulfilling their plan, guess what they did? They further undermined him by saying you have to cut half hour out of BVS. And we all know what happened with BVS. We talked about on the BVS stream, that's like night and day. The two movies don't make sense. So let's talk about this. They also wanted to bring in Mr. Terrific. I could see him fulfilling as like a tactical, particularly on the JSA. They couldn't copy the new comic Justice League lineup.
Depends.
I wouldn't want. Well, first off, I don't want Black Adam on the Justice League.
Oh, definitely not.
Let me say that. No, he doesn't belong on a team, really. He belongs on his own. That's really where I see him. Let's Black Adam. Yeah, he's still an anti-hero. I think he's more of a solo act that will work alongside a team occasionally, but not a permanent member.
And we're going to save this for a future stream, but Black Adam should have been a JSA movie. It
should have been
Black Adam as an antagonist.
And by the way,
villain, but an antagonist.
And by the way, the Snyderverse is not going as long as like let me put it this way: even if they do the rebirth style reboot with Flash, not going anywhere, not going anywhere. They're still going to be in the Snyderverse continuity. It was so bad. The only reason why I have though, I bought three of the first issue of Bendis' Justice League because those were the Zack Snyder's Justice League variant covers. That's it. The general audience is key for money. Yes, it's great to have the comic book fans on board and loving it too. That's great. Sometimes, yeah, because here's the thing. That's how these characters become mainstream. Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor were nowhere near as popular with anyone as they are today because the movies changed the characters a little bit to make the general audience adopt them so much.
Believe it or not, Iron Man was C tier, if not D, because War. Because of the first Civil War in 2006.
They had to convince people that he was not a robot. My prediction is that to do a soft reboot. Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about that actually, Hal Jordan. Yeah, here's how I know they're not going to do a reboot. They're not going to start at because they're trying to get their thing on their legs. They're not going to start from scratch again with new actors because the audience could.
If Batgirl was anything to go by, Zaslav and the Discovery team are literally making up for 5 years of crap by Hamada and Sarnoff.
That's why I think it's inevitable that they legit say Zack Snyder's Justice League is canon. It's been in every marketing thing. But the point is, you also have very popular versions of these characters. Say what you want about Zack Snyder. Ignoring the Zack Snyder. People like Henry Cavill as Superman, Ben Affleck as Batman, Jason Momoa as Aquaman. They're not gonna. They're not gonna. Yeah, they're not taking the Aquaman role away from Jason because he made them $1 billion as Aquaman. They're not. What they'll do if they want him to play Lobo, they'll double cast him and change his appearance so much so he doesn't look like Jason Momoa.
And we might say, and speaking of which, this is a great tie-in to our movie night announcement. If you weren't here for last week's stream, we would say we would do a movie review of the DCAMU, starting with Flashpoint Paradox tomorrow night.
Yeah, so tomorrow's Flashpoint.
So go ahead and watch skip a little bit ahead to Front of Atlantis and compare it to Aquaman, and you'll see where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And Jason Momoa still made them $1 billion.
Yes, they rushed it. Thank you, Tevia. That's it. Because I got news for you. If they had just let Zack Snyder alone, the whole rushed argument would not exist because he was going to take his time. What does this mean for Black Adam sequels? I think we're going to get at least one Black Adam sequel. That'll be a JSA movie.
About. Come on. We're going to get at least one.
It'll at least be late. It'll be a movie in the Black Adam corner. In other words, Black Adam happened. They're in the Black Adam universe. It'll be like a Hawkman, maybe even a JSA movie. Key is to deliver a good product. Yeah, that's what the MCU did up until Endgame. Up until like Spider-Man No Way Home, arguably. I'm going to give you that one.
If we're factoring collab factor.
Neither was the Hulk, too. The Hulk was not this big character at all. Right. The only reason why they got movies is because they were the only ones that Marvel had the film rights to. Because I got news for you. If Marvel had not sold the film rights to any of their characters, the MCU would just be Spider-Man, X-Men, and the Fantastic Four. That's it. That is it. The Avengers would not have been the MCU. I mean, they probably would have eventually, but there would be minor characters. That is why we got Iron Man. I mean, there were articles saying Marvel rolls out the B team. So people are blowing this out of proportion. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. Absolutely not. Thank you, Dave. A reboot costs too much. Yeah, because, again, they have you saw how the internet reacted when Henry Cavill announced he's back as Superman. Ignore the he dropped the Witcher to come back as Superman. The audience reaction.
And to be fair, Witcher was falling off after season 2. So, yeah. Come on.
I am sick and tired of the fanboys blaming Snyder for nothing getting us again as they wanted. James Gunn is seeing everything that everybody wants. Yeah, he said, here's another reason why I'm 100% sure. In fact, this is going to be a Jared prediction. 100% sure they're not doing a complete and total Flashpoint reboot. Because if you look at that tweet thread that James Gunn did in response to the THR article, one of the points he said is that we're going to respect and We're going to keep what works and get rid of what doesn't, or tweak what doesn't. He basically said we're going to respect what has worked and not what has not worked. So what has worked? Jason Momoa is Aquaman, Henry Cavill is Superman, Ben Affleck is Batman, Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman, Ezra was already getting recast. Arguably, Amber Heard's already getting recast, so we already got that. He's already being recasted. He's already being recast. I'm sure that he's going to be recasted.
The only reason they didn't drop them outright was literally because the movie was past post-production. That's the only reason.
Yeah. Twitter world is funny. Old regime mess things up. People lose their mind. Gun Saffron fix thing up. People still. Well, here's the thing. Because you have people taking articles from sources that have been wrong in the past as doctrine. That's what it is. Hopefully the first DC movie is going to be Man of Steel 2. It could be that. It could even be, I heard John Campea talking about it. How great would it be if they start off Justice League?
We're still going for the whiplash from the Snyder Cut and the conflicting ego. So jumping straight into a Justice League might be a bit of a touchy subject.
Mm-hmm. So we are laid back Snyder fans. Yeah, exactly. So, quick question: would the Suicide Squad be in the Bible? In my opinion, that didn't work. Yeah, well, let me put it this way: if he does a reboot, the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker pretty much go away. If he does a complete reboot, because here's the thing: he can't keep Suicide. He can't keep at least Peacemaker in his world, because guess who's if they're recasting him as Lobo, guess who was Aquaman and Peacemaker? Yeah. They can't. He's not going to do a reboot. He's going to do a rebirth. Did in the New 52.
And this takes us straight into our DCU topic in the comics.
Yes, let's do it.
Yep, this is just a retooling campaign.
Now we're going to talk about what the DCU, and we're going to do movies and comics on this because it applies to both. What do they have to do to
situation?
Yeah, what does the DCU have to do to succeed? And by the way, I just have two comments. We'll always have the classic comics. Good movies are just a bonus to us at the end of the day. Most comic book movies are for people who don't read comics. True. It's a bonus when they align so well, and you have movies like Zack Snyder's Justice League, Batman 1989 that are so iconic. But for the most part, by the way, everyone hails Batman 89, and by the way, the Timverse, Batman killed in that. So I don't want to hear about Batman being comic accurate in there. He is killed in every mainstream iteration because the mainstream audience is not going to buy that this dude dresses up like a bat and doesn't kill people.
Not to mention the no killing rule was just a mandate by the Comics Code Authority during the Silver Age and the major censorship of the 60s. Yeah. That's the only reason it's even in place. It's a mandate by the CCA and it's stuck.
Yeah, and we're getting another Superman movie. I'm 100% sure we're getting another Superman movie. This whole idea that that Gunn is going to replace the main characters of the DCU with the D tiers is wrong. He's just going to we'll have a project or two with like Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. I want that buddy cop movie, but they're not going to be the main thing.
Definitely is going to be a Blue Beetle sequel with Booster Gold.
Oh, yes, please. I want a buddy cop boost. I want Blue and Gold. That's what they have to name it.
It won't be Ted Kord. It'll be Jaime, but still. Mm-hmm.
James wants Margot Robbie to stay on as Harley Quinn. Fine with me.
By all means. And with Emily Green as Poison Ivy.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a moment.
What does it mean for DC animated movies and games? Because part of me doesn't want that because you don't want movie tie-in games.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That level of synergy is going to take at least 5 years because you still have the Tomorrowverse, which is already trying to set up their own little crisis with all the converging timelines and Flashpoint and whatnot. So you still have the quota of original movies is going as far back as 2007. You're going to have at least one DC original animated movie per year. So for that kind of synergy, you have to build up to it, make it organic, and make it natural. So actually having tie-in movies and games, that's something at least 5 years down the line. At least.
And plus, in terms of games, they already have like a lot of games in production. So that's not going to start until at least Wonder Woman comes out, if it comes out. And yeah, they always change the character for the general audience. I got news for you. They're always going to do it. Hell, they changed Mr. Freeze's origin for the general audience, and arguably it got better.
except that
Jerry Duggan like one bad day thing that ruined it. I honestly trust James Gunn with the DC more than anyone because he had not. Yeah, how about that? Give James Gunn the credit for that. He communicates with the freaking fans. Which, remember, is that a little too much? That apparently is too much to ask for. With the previous regime, didn't do any of that.
It's a mix of arrogance, clashing egos, and too inept to admit to a bloody mistake.
Yeah, because if they had just come out after Zack Snyder's Justice League and said, you know what, we screwed up, we're going to try and make this right, you wouldn't have had the backlash against Warner Brothers, and arguably those people would still have a job.
Well,
they could be, because if they had turned it around and then it got successful,
the lower staffers who got caught in the crossfire, but come on.
Realistically, every version of Batman, he has killed in every version, including the comics. I got news for you. You can ignore that. Even in the ones where he outward says, I don't kill, he's
Collateral
killed.
damage does count.
Collateral damage counts because he intentionally did that. He intentionally put the person in that scenario. When he hits someone with the Batmobile or like blows open a wall, yeah, that person's dead. And then they technically updated Brainiac and yeah, exactly. They always update these characters for the general audience because the origin for like Mr. Freeze originally was dumb as hell. So they made it better. And not a big, but yeah, at least hear him out because we're going to get more information, particularly in next week because he's meeting with Zaslav to discuss their plan. At least allow him to announce a few of the movies in his slate because we'll know a lot about his plan and the quality of it once he starts announcing his movies, because then we'll be able to see what his priorities are. Because watch him say the first movie is Man of Steel 2. Dawn of Hope. Because there you go. And by the way, people will say, I'm sure people can ask me, what do you think about it going more toward the hopeful Superman? That was always in line with Zack's plan. That was always, Henry Cavill said it was always part of Zack's plan because if we went with the nightmare timeline, that way the turn to the darkness is all the more effective. So that's that.
Trying to copy and catch up to Marvel, constant undermining and executive oversight, and 5 years of doubling down, throwing crap at the wall, and just not getting anywhere.
All of the Justice League members have killed. Yes, exactly.
To varying degrees. Most of them purely collateral damage.
Like Hal Jordan, he's killed people. Wonder Woman absolutely has killed people. Aquaman absolutely has killed people.
Flash.
When Bruce first started off, he killed people. He did not have the technology like that at first. Yes. Oh, Flash definitely killed people.
What about Flash? Flash.
Oh, yeah.
Flash hardly ever killed anyone.
I'm sure he has. And by the way, best way to get new fans is because that's what people don't realize. Because when you have a movie like Zack Snyder's Justice, hell, I came back into comics because of the Snyder cut. So
okay,
go ahead.
I'll be the one to say it. Half of every quote unquote legacy character that debuted or got revamped in the past 5 years is just there to check a bloody box.
Yeah, exactly.
When was the last time we got something like Nightwing, like a sidekick, genuinely coming to their own, or actually having a coming of age story? Not that kind of coming of age story. Okay, Jace works well in Future State and how that was set up. And allowing Jace to be New York in the main books, that was where that went wrong. Because if you kept it purely as his origin in Future State, Jace Fox could have worked. Because he's really just a Terry McGinnis stand-in in the present day. If we are factoring a Neo-Gotham modern cyberpunk, it could have worked within the confines of Future State. It could have worked.
Oh yeah, he's killed the Reverse Flash countless times.
But
he just keeps coming back.
Okay.
And by the way, Final Crisis. Who did Batman shoot with an anti-New God gun? And by the way, you could say, well, Darkseid survived. Batman didn't know that. He even said, gotcha. And by the way, he's killed people. He was a pilot in war. The Flash completely erased people from existence. Yeah, you're not mistaken, Dave. Yeah, these characters have killed.
Byproduct of Flashpoint itself. But it counts. He did alter and erase an entire timeline. So
yeah, exactly. So this whole false concept that these superheroes don't kill is just that. It's false. It's a lie. That's it. That's all I'm going to say on that. Now, what do you think the comics have to do in this coming dawn of DCU to succeed? My first thing is get a competent editorial staff.
ding, 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 ding.
Because 99% of the issues, actually 100% of the issues we've been having with DC come from editorial. Ultimately, that's where it comes from. So once you get that competent editorial staff, which I'm going to give them the chance to do, guess what? You will get, Wolverine is a mass killer. What are you talking
about?
Yeah, he kills people in the movies too.
But Wally West got done dirty, but that's besides the point. That's a string for another day.
At least in Future State, they put Barry Allen on the Multiversal Justice League and had Wally West be the main Flash on Earth. So I'm like, okay, at least you did that.
Even though he was technically the main Flash for a generation and got snubbed for nostalgia bait in 2009. But that's besides the point.
Oh yes, how many times has Lex Luthor punched Superman? Or how about? And this was a great scene in the Timverse when Darkseid and Superman are fighting, and Superman goes, "Well, now I can let loose because you can take it." And he's punching Darkseid through buildings. And by the way, no one threw a crap fit back then, and everyone did when Man of Steel happened. And yes, Oliver Queen is killed. He's killed.
Oliver's Queen killed more than arguably any street level hero in DC.
And
Oliver
Tevia
Queen has a monstrous kill count.
Okay, I don't agree with you on this because guess what? They could still do good. They could still do Super Sons and keep him at his current age. Just put him and Damian together, and you're good to go. That's it.
And not to mention, isn't that the kind of the path like you want these? Okay, all that aside, Infinite Frontier was a failed endeavor. It was just buying for time, because Jim Lee and the higher ups didn't have anything else to replace the original 5G plan. They were just stalling for time and using Dark Crisis. Basically, what Death Metal was originally going to be if Dan DiDio got fired. It was just a do-over and just to buy time. And this is what I don't understand. Just write out Future State the entire year and then have that be have Dark Crisis be your big comic book event that warps everything back to the status quo. Rather than just doing the same thing twice again with Dawn of the DCU and Infinite Frontier, just have Future State last a whole year instead of confining everything into 2 months.
Oh, and yes. Oh, he's gone back and forth on killing people in that show. I'm just telling you right there. And yeah, Tom Taylor, Nightwing, I've heard is pretty decent. Dark Knights of Steel is freaking dope. I started reading that. Oh my gosh. It is Game of Thrones. It is Game of Thrones DC, dude.
If he does not have main canon to hold him back, Tom Taylor can make something good. Yeah,
and by the way, I'm gonna give him a chance where the whole the John Kent series he's writing where he fights Ultraman, because hey, that could be great too. Because if there's one thing Tom Taylor is good at is killing people. That's all. I'll give you that. We can kill two birds with one stone. No, they're not going to have two. They're not going to do that. That was a mistake, and they're not going to have two.
Tevia, that was a different situation. First of all, they tried to remove the original Wally and have Wallace replace him as synergy for Wallace being on the CW Flash.
And the fans hated it.
Yeah, so they just brought the original Wally back. That was a completely different situation. John was literally just a character left in limbo after Bendis' run, and they just wanted to get some cheap headlines out of it. That's a completely different situation.
And the thing is that Wally and Wallace are two different characters. They're two different people.
From a meta standpoint, one's just a cosmic copy of the other, but that's besides
true. But you can't have two John Kents ultimately. You just can't. Maybe for an issue or two for like a trippy story, but no, that's not going to be a status quo. And Jeremy Adams' Flash book is freaking fantastic. I bet it is. Yeah. Flash always gets the best writers, I've noticed.
He does get the better ones.
I'm like, what the? Everyone tells me the one book I've never heard anything bad about is Modern Flash, because you got Manipul, then you got Williams, who wrote Flash for like the last 10 years, it seems.
Joshua Williamson's only folly with his Flash run was the whole Hero in Crisis debacle.
Yeah, true.
That was the only real detriment, but that was editorial. He had no real hand in that.
And yes, bad headlines nobody wanted, but let me put it this way: it would lead to even worse headlines for DC if they de-aged him, because now he's an icon with a certain community. And
If they can
you
make it stick.
and here's the thing: had they aged him and just stuck him in a closet somewhere, pun intended, yeah, that's fine. They could have probably de-aged him, but he's
Yeah,
had too
Jared,
many.
you're definitely gonna get some heat for that one.
I walked right into that one. But my point, what I meant was, if they had just put the character away and not done anything with him for like ever since, from his aging up to from the end of
Bendis's run to Dark Crisis, it'd be a
yeah,
completely different situation.
then I could see that. But he's had too many stories and arcs and stuff that would be wiped away if they de-aged him. You can't just do that, Tevya. It's I remember fellow Kennedy Johnson talked about that, and he gave that exact reason. There's too much attached to the character now.
The only way that would work is if it was a Robin Rises Omega Shard situation, where it was just John ended up had his age up due to a byproduct of cosmic energy from being displaced on Earth 3 in that wormhole, and then over time he would lose that energy and gain a more natural physique. But even then, he would by the time that all that energy burnt out, he'd be probably right at 12, because technically he was 12 when he left in the Bendis book. He was right at 13, so he'd still be a teenager by that point. He'd just be yeah.
And by the way, yes, I did read the Crime Syndicate Earth 3. It was so good. Oh my gosh, Ultraman's an asshole. Jeez. Which it's Ultraman, so it's not exactly.
It's kind of the point.
Yeah. So I like that, but I think that for it to succeed, for Dawn of DC, what they really need, and by a bad story is nobody wanted. Yeah, but it's not.
And speaking of clout shelf titles, Teen Titans Academy.
Oh, I guarantee you. Well, here's the thing: if we're gonna get a reboot, let me put it this way: if they do a complete reboot in the comics, then yeah, then it's likely that you could get a de-aging of John Kent, because they'll just restart everything. I get the feeling that they're gonna want to go away from like the Robin and then Teen Titans tie-in for Dark Crisis writer. I forget her name. That
Young Justice, Megan Fitzmartin.
Yeah, I get the feeling her stuff is not going to stick that long.
But you would really have to commit to a reboot and actually plan it out this time.
Yeah, don't do what the New 52 did. What they could do is say we're doing a hard reboot, and then we're going to tell a 5-year self-contained story. That's it. That's our continuity, and then we're going to reboot again. Because at least then you communicate to the readers, okay, you know what you're doing. Because the problem with the New 52, yes, that I could see going away, because that is universally reviled.
And this is the worst part. You had Tim and Steph break up off panel, and then the entire internalization of Tim coming to terms with your story and where you're taking in that direction was crammed in an anthology that's completely obscure, other than the fact that it's Batman and Batman Urban Legends.
And I know, but by the way, you can tell that she wants Tim Drake with Connor, because her next project was Tim going, I didn't understand my feelings when Connor died. And I'm like, I know what you're doing. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Every edgy teenager from the 2000s fangirled over that. But
yeah, but what I think is probably what they have to do is have the editorial staff with some balls on them, honestly, and be able to tell these writers no, because it's children. Partly the fault of the writers too for pitching storylines, even if the writer is as revered as like a Jeff Johns. No one should be above the editorial saying no,
checks to power. And not to mention, well, the way the American comics do things, these characters have to be endearing enough to actually garner merchandise and make a profit. If this was more akin to the manga and light novels in Japan with anime, I mean, this spectrum is all across multiple varieties. You could do whatever you want as long as it garnered a fan base. Mm-hmm. But with American comics, it's different, especially in an established setting like the Big Two.
Yeah.
Marvel
by
can
the way,
get away with crap like this because they got that Disney money, and they
yeah.
could they could just do whatever because technically comics are roped into merchandise anyway. As long as the MCU's stable, the comics will be stable.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that John Kent as an adult. Watch, I wonder if how big of a role Jay is gonna play in the new Tom Taylor series, because I get the feeling that Tom Taylor realizes that Jay is not exactly a popular character.
Jay's not kicking off like that. And who uses Gossamer as our hero name? I'm like that the witch's kid from Looney Tunes.
Yeah, that is the most like weenie name ever. I think that's what I'm gonna. I'll give you that one. But ultimately, yes, check power because you don't because a lot of these writers and be able to pair these writers with their strengths. Like tell Tom Taylor as soon as he's done with like his series, why don't you stay in the Elseworlds area? Because everyone loves you in Elseworlds. Stay there because you can do whatever the hell you want. I really don't care at that point.
No one's really gonna, and you don't have an established status quo to really stop you in any way.
Yeah, and he excels when he does that. Look at Injustice as an example, or Deceased. So it's ultimately like just to put these writers where they belong. And ultimately, I think what they really need to do is, and JJheat, you touched on this, have a freaking plan. Is that too much to ask for? Because the thing about the new 52, and they could say, oh, we always had a plan to have Dr. Manhattan interfere. Sure you did. Sure you did. Speaking of Flashpoint, that story was not originally intended to reboot the universe. Originally, it was just supposed to be Flash comes back and is like, okay.
New timeline.
I learned a lesson. I don't do that anymore. Then DC's like, actually, you know what? We want to do all this. Let's just reboot everything.
And there's nothing wrong with a sales boost. And it did work for what it was. But because it wasn't fully planned out and because you didn't commit to it, it crumbled within the span of a year and a half.
And no one talked to each other.
Yeah. Not to mention the Gail Simone firing by email. That was just that was a lot going on in 2011.
Mm-hmm. For those of you that don't know what I was talking about, so you had, here's an example. You had George Perez on Superman. You had Grant Morrison on Action Comics. Now, Grant Morrison's Action Comics was taking place 5 years previous because that was like the early days of Superman. He was not communicating with George Perez about what he was doing for Superman. So George Perez is constantly like, okay, so I'm taking place in the future. So I'm kind of dependent on what Grant does. And it just got really quick. There was also Convergence, which said, screw it. Let's just everything happened, which leads to
there were some good stories in DCU. It was a transition for Rebirth, but there were some good stories in there. Earth 2 being wrapped up, the Patrick Gleason run of Robin, Son of Batman, the Cyborg solo series,
Superman on a Harley driving across the country. That was pretty dope. For a self-contained story. Obviously, I didn't want that to be his new status quo. And yes, his Elseworld stuff is great, but yeah, his in-continuity stuff sucks. But yeah, they need to have a plan, and they need to communicate what the plan is. That's why I like the graphic that they showed for Dawn of DC, because it communicates, okay, so Brainiac's somehow involved, and we're planning out how we do these books. There you go. That's you're at least putting in some consumer confidence, which is a lot to ask for. I can't believe it's so much to ask for a company that runs a big superhero universe to plan out their crap.
It's because these new generation of writers are entitled, egotistical, and potential lackluster hires from Tumblr. Ego is definitely a factor. Just saying.
Here's what they should have done. It wasn't better, but what they should have done, they could have had the pre-crisis Superman be a mentor to the new 52 Superman.
And I will concede this. New 52 Superman was a jackass.
He was supposed to be. That was the point of the story. He was a younger, inexperienced Superman. At the point when they killed him, he was getting to the point. But I think what they could have done, they could have had the older Superman be a mentor to the younger Superman, saying, hey, here's how we did this on my world. Maybe it'll work well for you. And then you could have had the Superman grow into that role more.
depending on the writer, because I easily could have just turned New 52 Superman to like this edgy teenager, like, you don't know what you're talking about. This is my reality. This is my world.
No, at that point, he was a little more mature by the time that they became aware of each other. So I think at that point, they could have worked together a little better. And by the way, did you see this? This was a rumor. This was a heavy rumor that this was going to be the plot for Wonder Woman 3.
It was never confirmed.
It was never confirmed. Never confirmed. Just want to be clear on that. But this seems like something Patty would do because she keeps wanting to bring back Steve Trevor.
Technically, because he's technically Wonder Woman's only consistent love interest outside of one-time flings or
Superman. But my point is, how about not have Wonder Woman have a love interest in a movie? Just let her be in her movie. If you don't want to do Superman, which you should, but if you don't want to do Superman, if you just have Wonder Woman have a movie. And also, because here's the thing, Wonder Woman went through emotional trauma losing Steve Trevor in Wonder Woman 1 and then redid it in Wonder Woman 1984. So I don't want her going through that again.
And why would you go through that again? Like, why? And first of all, his body blew up in a plane crash.
It undermines what you learned in your crappy second movie.
And how would you, okay, no, not even in terms of how Diana would be tempted to use the Lazarus to bring him back, but you wouldn't even have a body to revive because he died in a plane crash. There would be nothing left but ash and debris.
Yeah, at least 1984. At least
For better or worse.
Put him in a body in a magical way, even if it was crappy. Yeah, Hal Jordan said it best. Let Steve rest.
I don't know if this was ever confirmed. In the film itself. But the body Steve Trevor possessed was an LGBTQ individual. The actual physical body of who Steve Trevor was.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the community didn't freak out on that one.
Yeah, because it was heavily censored and there's a blink and you miss it moment.
Yeah. Arguably, Wonder Woman RAPED the dude, so...
Technically, the only difference is he doesn't remember it because he was possessed at the time.
And then Patty's excuse, I love this, was, well, I was trying to do what they did in Big. That was a different sensibility, Pat. That's my problem with a lot of these creatives. They're stuck in the old times when you could do that. It's like they're stuck in the Christopher Reeves era. They're stuck in the Big era where the sensibilities were much different and it doesn't work nowadays. Ridiculous. Ultraman Kit can be a great character, but no one's ever written the Crime Syndicate as well as Grant Morrison. True. I like that one. And yeah, Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns was out of their mind. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Keep Jeff Johns away from the movies. I'm going to tell you that. He's fantastic as a comic book writer. He has, arguably, Stargirl is his only good thing, and that's because it's a passion project. That's it. And they said Patty argued and sent a Wikipedia link of not Wonder Woman, of the definition of a character arc to them. Because the story was that, okay, so we can get a little more into this. The story was that Patty actually left Wonder Woman. It wasn't necessarily canceled. They gave her notes. Here's how it'll fit more with our universe. She said no. She said this interferes with my character arc, your crappy character arc. And
what? No, it was a character loop. This might as well just been Amber from Invincible. I'll say it.
It might as well be here's the thing. 1984 was just a crappy version of Wonder Woman, except in the 80s for no reason, by the way.
Pretty much.
A lot of these writers don't know what they're doing. Yeah, exactly. He's also, that's what I'm saying with Stargirl, with his project, if he's a passion project, because also here's the thing, he created Stargirl. So, of course, if anyone's going to know how to properly represent Stargirl, it's going to be the guy who created her. So, there you go. I have to imagine Jeff Johns didn't have to do much with 1984. I just can't see a writer like him signing off on that. Yeah, probably.
No, because they thought Patty Jenkins, because first of all, they actually there was their first one up on Marvel in a minute. So it was lightning in a bottle for them. Granted, not as bad as Taika Waititi with Love and Thunder, but it was definitely a lightning in a bottle situation. So Patty Jenkins just had the majority on that. Jeff Johns just made small editorial notes in the screenplay. And I guess because it was a very vague detail. Oh, Steve Trevor possesses somebody. But then when you actually go and filming, I don't know if this was last minute or just an oversight.
Wow. That's a good one, Raimi Batfleck. I love that.
Roll the clip. Come on.
Actually, you know what?
Yeah.
There you go. That deserves that. Oh my gosh. That is excellent. But yeah, because remember what actually happened, I heard, is that Patty fired the writer from Wonder Woman 1 so she could write it herself. We all know how that turned out.
And Patty Jenkins is not a good receptive to criticism.
Obviously, she's not. What's kind of interesting, you noticed how after 1984, also she lost Cleopatra in Star Wars.
Wait, Patty Jenkins was on a Star Wars project?
Rogue Squadron. I love he just gets back up. Yeah, she submitted a bad treatment. That sealed her fate. She's done. That's it. Which ultimately, had she been willing to actually, didn't she remove Zack Snyder from 1984?
She removed Zack Snyder's credit from 84.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wait, so she's still operating on the version of the character that Zack Snyder created. Version of the character. He didn't create Wonder Woman, the version.
And Snyder didn't fight it because he was signing his contract with Netflix by that point. That's the only reason he didn't fight it. My
God, Patty. You're using someone else's toys ultimately, because you're even though you're taking place in the past, you're still in the Snyderverse. You're still in the Snyderverse. That's the way it works.
Patty, you could argue 84 is a what if or a standalone because this was during when the Hamada regime was in full swing and they really wanted 84 to be a standalone.
Oh, I consider it a standalone. It's on Earth crap, where all the bad... It's on the same Earth as like Catwoman and Steel and all the really bad... Batman and Robin. I wouldn't want... Well, actually, yeah, that's a good point. I wouldn't want his... He probably also fought it because he knew it was crap and he was like, I don't want my name on that.
After the flag he got for Justice League? No wonder he didn't fight it. No, Patty.
The Justice League thing was worse because they still kept him... If you go to iTunes for Justice League, it still says directed by Zack Snyder.
And that was rubbing salt on the wound on that point.
That's why I say they blamed it on the. Honestly, at this point, with all this new information, I think that was just because she knows it's trendy to be a Snyder, to like Snyder.
That and it's Hollywood. They backstab each other all the time, especially in the bid to maintain relevance.
Yeah.
So tell me I'm lying.
Ultimately, you're not lying. Ultimately, I think Patty had a ginormous ego, and she wouldn't allow it to play ball enough for her movie, and it cost her movie. Oh, by the way, if only the old... Yeah, Hal Jordan has it right here. If only they hadn't undermined Zack's vision, we would have gotten Justice League 3. And then guess what? They would have been on phase 2 of their movies by now, because it would have ended in like 2019. Yeah, it ended in 2019 with a Flash movie that rebooted it. So I'm like, you could have been done with... You could have used that to plan out, here's how we're going to do it. That's why I really hope that Warner Brothers, with whatever plan they do with James Gunn, they commit to it. But it needs to be set aside until we get a good director. Okay, actually, you know what?
Ensembles would be better for the moment.
Yeah.
Just until some of the heat dies down.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I want to pose this quick question to you, JJheat, in the chat. Who would you want to direct a Wonder Woman 3? And you can't say Zack Snyder.
That's a tough one.
Oh, yes. By the way, I have to interrupt for this comment. Arguably, he ruined everything. And it didn't take...
Well, to be fair, Josh Whedon actually had the craft to back it up, even if it was mostly sitcoms. Patty Jenkins had like 2 or 3 credits to her name before Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Michelle McLaurin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They could have done also... I mean, I would say Zack Snyder because of 300, because that would have been dope. I still say I want a Zack Snyder Amazon movie. I really want... By Amazon, I mean the Amazons of that.
Wait, do video game directors count? Because the people who are on God of War would be epic on a Wonder Woman.
Oh, yes. Ridley.
If given a good screenplay.
Mm-hmm. I would say, yeah. If given a good screenplay, I would like. Who would be a good Wonder Woman director? Oh, Kathy Yan. Actually, I forget who said on Twitter. I think it was Sil. Actually, who was the director for like Mandalorian episode 3 and like I think it was Obi-Wan
For the Kenobi show?
Yeah,
Which episode? Like the whole series, or
I think
just...
she did the whole series.
Hold on.
Yeah, because because when I heard this name,
Kenobi, directed by
oh
Deborah Chow.
yeah, exactly. I can see her doing that.
I will say this about Kenobi: it was good for what it was. Cramming in Darth Vader was a little bloated and definitely a marketing ploy. Bryce Dallas Howard. Okay.
That actually is not a bad choice. With me, it's either her or Ridley Scott because he can kind of have a gladiator like tinge to it a little bit.
Again, given a good enough screenplay.
It all depends on the screenplay. But yeah, I could see Bryce Dallas Howard actually doing a pretty decent Wonder Woman movie.
We don't want another Multiverse of Madness situation. Arguably Sam Raimi's worst movie.
Yeah, have you seen Spider-Man 3?
Hey, we don't talk about Bully Maguire, right? That was for half of that was for comedy. Poor comedy, but comedy nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a great choice. Yeah, she to direct a Wonder Woman movie, Tevia. That's what we're going for. And yeah, that's where I think we can leave this topic, by the way. So now we're going to transition to, all right, I want to talk about this. The CW has lost money the entire time.
Yep. And it was constantly on the back burner of WB. CW was kind of their rerun block when they lost WB Kids, when they lost WB4 Kids. It was just a lot was crapped up there outside of a few original projects. The Arrowverse got some mainstream because DC didn't really have too much at the time. But yeah, CW hardly ever made a profit.
I'm going to share this bounding in a comics article that's talking about it. So, all right, that there was a never profitable despite the apparent success of the Arrowverse. So what we have here, upon its sale to Nexstar, some striking things about the CW's profitability were revealed, and it turns out the network never has been profitable, and they kept it going. This crucial bit of information was found in the SEC filings by Nexstar during the acquisition and dares to defy a narrative of success crafted around programming that was successful for a time. Yeah, the Arrowverse was successful as a novelty ultimately because having an interconnected continuity of shows was cool for the time and then just got old. It was really hard for CW to make a breakthrough against the bigger networks. True, particularly when they had crappy quality and crappy writing. And it's really
Arrow season 4,
Flash, and actually any of these shows past season. That's why I hope that Superman and Lois does not get a season 3 because I don't want to risk the crap season.
Well, Flash season 3 with Savitar wasn't that bad. They just crammed Future Barry into it, but Savitar wasn't that bad.
My problem with Flash is that he has more villains other than speedsters. We don't. It's the same plot over and over again.
Outside the whole ensemble, we are Team Flash. What really? I mean, most villains Barry could either speed blitz or outmaneuver in a given moment. Outside of the Thinker, Gorilla Grodd, King Shark, or any heavy hitter that doesn't go down in 1 or 2 punches.
Have an entire arc where it's Gorilla Grodd. Have an entire season.
Do you know how much it would cost to actually have multiple appearances of Gorilla Grodd for CGI and motion capture?
I
sure. Mean, come on.
And we have a guest.
Ooh.
What is going on, dude?
What's good, fam?
And Jared, and you're on Comics League Dark, and we're talking about how the CW was never profitable, apparently.
Oh, yeah, CW was like never profitable at all. Like, did you not see Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Could have done so much better. So much better.
It
Could have done so
so much better if they actually tied it into the MCU.
Right. And then on top of that, look, you got like the Flash, even Supergirl. I mean, Supergirl was actually kind of good, but I mean,
for a couple of seasons. That's the thing about CW properties. They're good for about 1, 2, maybe 3 seasons, and then the quality like completely craters.
And I don't know if you guys can tell right now, but our guest on the show, Kid Takeoff, that's my brother.
All right, I see the family resemblance. So now, in terms of like attitude, so and here's the thing. So, like I was telling JJheat, it was good, but it was cool having like an interconnected continuity of shows for like for the time it was, because nothing about that existed 5 years or so, but it wore off really fast because yes, you can have the interconnected thing, but it just, if you don't have the quality to back it up, that novelty falls apart real quick. Arguably, Superman and Lois was the most successful thing.
And you can argue it was a standalone.
it was.
Yeah, and I love Grant Gustin as the Flash. Too much hate. I hate him as the Flash. I'm gonna give that. He cries way too much. The Flash it should have had an entire season of the Central City Rogues instead of turning Captain Cold and Heatwave into villains so quickly. Yes. And the CW was never meant to be profitable because it was a joint venture between 2 different networks. People keep forgetting that.
And that's why it was never profitable, because it was splitting costs with other networks.
Yeah. So it was, and that's ultimately the thing is that people also act like the CW was like comic accurate. Arrow is not Batman. If you've read the comics, Green Arrow is a comedy character. Like he's to the point where when I played Injustice, I was jarring because I'd only watched Arrow in terms of Green Arrow, and I was like, wait, why isn't he depressing? Yeah. Again, first 2 seasons are good, then it all just craters. And the Arrowverse should have died after Crisis. Yes, exactly.
Technically, it did die after Crisis.
Technically,
it just went out.
True, it just went out. But so actually, that's really all I have on this topic, because it's like not that much to talk about. It was just not really successful. But I want to ask you, Kid Takeoff, what do you think of Wonder Woman 3 being canceled? And you're muted. I still can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, so I had my mic down.
All right, good.
So I'll say Wonder Woman 1 was like, I mean, when it hit the box office and hit the movie theater, it actually did very good. Like, I kind of really enjoyed how they like displayed Wonder Woman 1. Now the second one, yeah,
you don't have to tell us that. I think that's what killed everything for
Wonder
Patty.
Woman 84 was just.
Can I ask, why was it in the 80s? There was no reasons plot-wise for it to be in the 80s.
It
now,
did not
if they do a thing on like surveillance by the government, yeah, okay, I could say 1984. It's the title, but nothing.
Yeah, and I was just saying, like, it didn't really tie into the first movie anyway.
No, that's why I consider it just like on a different world than the first movie.
That's a whole different Wonder Woman.
Yeah, exactly. That's the Wonder Woman that no one likes.
Now, here's one for y'all. How do y'all think about what is y'all perspective on the Green Lantern Ryan Reynolds?
I like that movie. I think it gets too much hate.
Look, they should have made the second. They should have made the second one with Sinestro with the yellow.
Yes. There you go.
Okay. They went directly into the whole parallax crap. It should have just been a standard space cop adventure like we got with Star-Lord and the Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
They just kept it simple.
And they even changed Parallax for that movie. He's not a Guardian. He's a Guardian who was exposed to fear, became Parallax. No, it's not.
And then everybody's talking about that was Ryan Reynolds' downfall. And then he went to what was it?
Deadpool?
Yeah.
X-Men Origins and then Deadpool. That didn't hurt. I mean, that didn't exactly help him, that portrayal of Deadpool, dude. And yes,
Yeah.
I do want to see him because I felt he was pretty decent as Hal Jordan.
Yeah, he actually plays a good Deadpool too. I'm so excited for Deadpool 3, bro. I heard that Hugh Jackman teaser,
With Hugh
bro.
Jackman, baby. Yes. I love how he announced it. Hey, we did have one idea. Hey, Hugh, you want to play Wolverine one more time? Okay.
He said, sure.
Yes. Yes.
Well, Jared stepped out for a minute. So you want to? All right, let's try a little variety on the channel.
Sorry, I left the chat. I actually hit the back button. But yes, I love how we're finally because I've always wanted to see like Wolverine and Deadpool interact. So I'm like, yes, and yes, it's not going to have they have made they were very clear that Deadpool is gonna keep his comedy from the previous two movies. They were very clear. They're going to keep the R-rated because you can't change that. And Dave the Impaler says, well, Wonder Woman 1984 was trying to cash in on the 80s Stranger Things nostalgia, but completely missed the mark. Because there was a reason for Stranger Things to take place in the 80s. It was actually in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It just made no sense. But yeah, I am 100%. And we're finally going to have Deadpool in the MCU because I hope that they have some tribute to Captain America. And then Deadpool goes, shouldn't you be on fire?
Yeah. Well, I think that movie will actually be the bomb, bro. Deadpool 3 is about to blow this box office, bro. Like, for real.
Particularly if they do it. That's be selective in how they do it. But I think they could actually do this really well. In the 40s, that would have made sense.
Bro, did you watch She-Hulk?
Yes. And it was actually pretty good. I kind of say it kind of hit the comic parts kind of nice.
Yeah, it did.
Now, and on top of that, what was it? What's that other one? Moon Knight.
I haven't watched the conclusion to that. It's really trippy, but I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was good.
But
I got no problem with it.
My problem with She-Hulk is that they in an effort to have a different ending from your traditional MCU thing, they made it so that the show basically didn't happen, so you could just skip the entire show.
Right.
You made it skippable. I appreciate that.
Did you hear? And I also got an insight on Phase 6 of Marvel. They're talking about either there's two people that they're going to replace Robbie Downey Jr. with for Iron Man.
Oh, boy.
It's either going to be Tom Cruise or it's going to be Keanu Reeves.
Ooh.
Keanu Reeves is Iron Man? What?
Yeah, they're talking about in Phase 6 because after Infinity War you got what's that next big Avengers movie? It's like a
Secret Wars.
Secret War, yeah. And they're talking about, and they teased on Twitter talking about either it's going to be Keanu Reeves or freaking Tom Cruise.
I think it'll be Tom Cruise because I remember he originally auditioned to play Iron Man.
Yeah, in Multiverse of Madness because that's when Iron Man was supposed to make his appearance, but they did. A lot of people were characters that they were supposed to kind of give them the small little cameos in Multiverse of Madness. They kind of didn't get it because
this is the Illuminati, by the way.
Yes,
not what we saw in the actual show. I'm just gonna say Captain Carter is not, or Captain America are not on the Illuminati.
Well, Captain America was a temporary.
Briefly.
It's kind of like a part-time JLU situation, but then he quickly walked away.
Let me put it this way: Iron Man is supposed to be on the Illuminati, but it's just like. Yeah, it would have been cool if you had like Superior Iron Man on the Illuminati.
Have the Sorcerer Supreme Iron Man wielding all Infinity Stones.
Yes. Great. There was a script to bring Iron Man and Tom Cruise, but it was turned down. But it was during COVID and Top Gun. So okay, I could see.
Yeah.
Too busy. I got that. That would have been cool.
Now I can kind of see Tom Cruise being kind of busy, and then them trying to go to like Keanu Reeves.
I hope that they don't replace Iron Man with Ironheart. Please don't do that. Because as much as she was tolerable in the Black Panther 2 movie, she's not tolerable enough that I would actually want her as the face of the MCU. She's still annoying in the movie. Let me put it that way.
Speaking of which, bro, what'd you think of the Wakanda Forever situation?
Oh yeah, I went to go see it with my fam. I kind of like how they did the tribute to T'Challa. I was like, that was very touching to kind of memorialize his memory. And then on top of that, his sister stepping up to beat Black Panther. She whooped butt.
Yeah. I enjoyed seeing Namor being torn apart because I freaking hate Namor. So I was like, yes, kill him. Bring me his head.
Now I'm waiting to go see Avatar 2.
Oh, yeah.
Look, no, that's a crazy thing. They waited years. I mean,
10 years.
years to create Avatar 2.
And apparently Avatar 3 has already been shot.
And we ain't got it yet.
Let's go. But the thing is that I think James Cameron could be overestimating how well his movie's going to... Because my point is...
13 years, man.
And the movie's 3.5 hours long. And he said... he was asked, okay, so... is there like a natural stopping point so people can like get up and go to the bathroom? He said you can go to the bathroom anytime and watch what you miss when you see the movie again. And I'm like, you really think people are gonna? The only reason why like I've seen the Snyder Cut 11 times because it's at home. So it's, I think you're over. It could be the best movie, but I think you're over because ultimately.
A 3-hour cut, a 3-hour theatrical
3.5, I think.
People aren't going to have the patience. Now, if it was same-day digital release on streaming, that's different. But for a theatrical release, it's just not happening.
Raimi Batfleck, I got accused of disliking Black Panther because of the women. What?
What?
No, everybody was apparently annoyed at Black Panther. From what's that tribe? The gorilla people who want to say Bata, Bata. Yeah, they were like, why they always chant "Shut up"? I mean, people were going stupid in the theater, bro. It had me laughing, honestly.
That's their culture. That's their culture. That's what they do.
Then you want to, and here's the thing: the dude, what's his name? Jabori, whoever, dude, the king of the gorilla people, Baku, yeah, he challenged at the end to be the king of Wakanda.
I think he's going to be king, and then Shuri.
Shuri's going to be Black Panther, and then if you got to forget the hidden scene at the end, T'Challa had a son,
also named T'Challa. So I'm pretty sure
it was a compromise.
So you got to think. So I think he's going to be king. And then his sister's going to be Black Panther, and then when T'Challa grows up, then he's going to take heir.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Cameron is out of touch. Apparently needs $2 billion to profit. There have been like sources that have been disputing that, but if that's true, I highly doubt it's going to reach $2 billion.
Right.
So it's like the greatest long-awaiting sequels: Blade Runner 2049, Top Gun, and now Avatar. Top Gun was the best one of those.
Top Gun was pretty solid.
It really was.
Blade Runner was too hard to understand.
Yeah.
Now, here's another movie that everybody's kind of iffy about: Transformers. Beast.
Rise of the Beast. If you're a Beast Wars fan, you got to be hyped for that. Oh my gosh!
Look, when I saw the trailer of that gorilla come, I'm like, oh my God. And then Optimus just stared down, and I'm like, dude, he's a gorilla. He will rip you in half instantly. Yes. Like, no contest.
I love that ending shot of the trailer where they're all like running at each other, and it's like that massive two armies clashing. I'm like, yeah, this movie's gonna be dope.
And they made Optimus look kind of old fashioned.
Yeah, but
it's the G1 design taking place in the 90s, so it makes sense. And how about we're getting a first-person Transformers video game? They played the trailer at the Game Awards where apparently it's like post-apocalypse. The Decepticons have taken over and like the Autobots had to be reactivated. So I'm like, okay, that's at least they're doing something new. And yes,
hopefully it's going to be better than the original Transformers game for the PlayStation 2. Now that was a classic, but that was an OG game though.
I mean, the one for the first movie?
Yes, that was an OG game.
I had it
Hey, the Bayverse games were solid. You got to give them that.
Except for two. Two sucked.
Same as the Spider-Man series too.
Yeah. I don't want to hold a button to stay in vehicle mode. That is stupid as hell. I had to hold down the right trigger, first off. That's a big red flag there. In order to transform. What? And then the only way you could use that to fire your gun is if you were also hitting the left. The controls in that game were jacked. They added in characters for no reason. Like, I'm like, who the hell is Breakaway? It's nuts. But the War for Cybertron games were probably the best Transformers games I've ever played. Oh my gosh.
Facts.
Yes. So now we're going to get into, for our next topic. All right. Let's get into a little more fun here. Let's talk about our favorite comic books. Let's do that.
I got mine all over my wall.
Awesome.
Look,
so I'm going to start with you. Actually,
look,
kids.
this
so.
is here.
Captain. Oh, sweet. Mad Bomb Captain America. That is dope. I love that.
Wait, and this is my other favorite one too.
Wolverine battles the Incredible Hulk. Kind of a first appearance of Wolverine, right?
Hey, it's a fan of the classics. You got to give him that.
Hey, there you go. The classics are where you go. Classics are where you go. So one of the things that I started reading that I actually really dig is actually the Illuminati series, because you have like this group just meets. There's an issue where they just hang out and talk about their relationships. And it's like Namor is like, okay, Reed, take care of Sue, because here's how you know she loves you. She's not here with me right now. So I'm like, it further cements that Namor's an asshole, but all right.
I mean, that's kind of the point of his character, borderline on douchebag, depending on the story.
I enjoy when he's blown up. I love that. I love that. Of course, we know what Heavy's favorite comic book is, but all right. Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, that's a good one that had crappy sequels, but okay. Mm-hmm. Arguably, Master Race was the best sequel. Dan Jurgens' Superman, I think, is overrated. So is Tomasi.
Okay. What makes you think that?
Because it's the same Superman story over and over and over again with those guys. They repeat the same thing over and over again. At least with when you had Grant Morrison and George Perez on the new 52 Superman, they did new stuff. That's what it was. Yep. And then my other favorite comic is anything that has the words Green Lantern and Jeff Johns on the cover. That's it. Jeff Johns' Green Lantern, because he basically made Marvel DC Star Wars. Because you have the Lantern Corps, you have the War of Light, you have Flashpoint's a good one. We had Batman with guns, all of them. Then you had Flash going back in time and screwing up the timeline. There you go. But the thing about Flashpoint is that it was so popular that that's the only movie, that's the only material when we're making a Flash movie that they want to make a movie for. And I mean, is
I think they have no choice but to use Flashpoint considering everything that's happened.
No, I mean, I'm not. I'm talking about even the animated. Whenever they make a Flash movie, it's Flashpoint, like a Flash movie. I don't count JSA World War III because that was a JSA movie, arguably. But it's like whenever there's a Flash story, they only do Flashpoint. So I'm like, okay,
I'll give you that.
Which it's a good storyline. Don't get me wrong, I love that storyline.
But it's very limiting. Flash does have other stories. But we are doing Flashpoint on Comic League movie night tomorrow night, so get ready for that. So
we also have World War Hulk, where the Hulk shows up and destroys everyone, where he's fighting Black Bolt, whose power is like if he blasts you with his voice, he kind of kills you. The Hulk, he screams at the Hulk, and the Hulk goes, "I didn't come to hear you whisper. I came to hear you scream." I'm like, yes.
All right, here's a surprise topic for our guests.
All right,
bro. What's your favorite Power Ranger season?
Oh, actually, yeah. Let's go with that.
Bro, you muted again.
Then you're muted.
Oh, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I have three. Number one, I would say my number one of all time is Jungle Fury.
Okay.
Ooh, that's an interesting choice.
Number two, Ninja Storm.
Hey, can't go wrong with Ninja Storm.
And number three, Turbo.
Hot
Oh,
take.
That's the
Hot
first time I've
take.
ever heard that one.
Hot take.
And yeah, so and then Nance the Box it says their favorite comic is Wonder Woman teaming up with the Justice League Dark. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, my favorite are Dino Thunder. Time Force is my number one favorite because I love the Time Force Red Ranger. I think he was super dope. And Wild Force, really, because I like because I felt like they did like newer stuff. It didn't feel like a rehashing of the same thing over and over again with Wild Force, I think.
Okay.
At least,
Look,
plus, that's when you got Forever Red.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Forever Red was like my favorite Wild Force episode. How Tommy Oliver came back, and and I didn't even think Jason was gonna come, but they were like, "There's one Red Ranger left on Earth," and he pulls up on a bike and said, "You think I'm gonna let you do it without the original Red Ranger?" And I'm like,
and then they all morph in order of era, arguably. So I'm like, yes.
Well, Alien slightly thrown off, but they didn't have the original actor, so.
And who cares about Alien?
What about Megaforce when they fought the ending battle where all the Rangers came?
That was the only good part about that series when they had that Avengers Endgame style battle with everyone. But it was
the story was crap, but at least it fulfilled the nostalgia.
Because here's the thing: they start the series. The Red Ranger is having dreams about this battle. Okay, they never touch on how he has like premonitions of stuff that's gonna happen. And then he goes, I knew it. I dreamed about this. No one cares.
And then you got the Black Ranger want to date the Yellow Ranger, and then you got
that's
Blue
typical
Ranger
teen banter.
That's typical.
Every season.
See, look, Red Ranger, he seems like stick to himself. Blue Ranger wanted to date Pink Ranger. Yellow Ranger wanted to date Black Ranger. I was like, Lee.
The thing about it is that it was a return too much to Mighty Morphin, and that it was too much.
Even like that. Mighty Morphin
wasn't.
Was only Tommy and Kimberly.
That's it.
The thing is that they looked at Mighty Morphin and then evolved it a little more into. Devolved it a little more, pun intended, because they because essentially said
turned into a teen high school drama.
Yeah, that's not. They essentially CW Power Rangers. So I'm like, no,
that's a good one. I'll give you that.
It's what they did. There you go. It's what they did.
Now, have y'all heard about Netflix coming out with their own Power Rangers?
Yeah, they're gonna have a Power Rangers. They're gonna make Power Rangers more mature. So I'm like, oh hell yes.
Okay, yeah. That's why
they tried to do that with the 2012 live action movie, though.
2017.
I like that. I like that one. I thought it was pretty good.
That movie was walking product placement.
But it was good.
Look, the Zord looked kind of wonky though,
because they're going off of more robots. That's like the Megazord was a little iffy. The design of the Megazord, because I'm like, what identifies this as the Megazord? Where's the T-Rex head? But I'm like, but the suits look pretty good, and I felt the action was pretty decent. It did a good job of doing what it was going to do, and that they were going to bring in Tommy Oliver. I just wish they got a sequel. But I liked it for what it was. But I like the idea of a more mature Power Rangers because I think it could do well.
Okay, let's review the evidence. In Space, Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue to a degree, Time Force, arguably the best season and strongest character arc for a particular Ranger. Like, mature Power Rangers can be done if you have a good screenplay, if you have a good script.
Right.
I would argue Wild Force is mature. Not just for the Forever Red episode, but I would argue Wild Force is pretty mature.
Yeah, arguably, I would say the last
the most mature one that I have
probably
had to have watched was either RPM or Beast Morphers.
Drew, I just watched the first episode of RPM. It's basically Terminators, but Power Rangers. So I like that. But arguably another one that I felt was like, I don't know, bordering on the mature part was SPD. A little bit.
I see where you're coming with that, but it just covered deeper issues. It was still pretty typical. It was still pretty on point. It only covered mature themes. It did the bare minimum.
Yeah, but it didn't necessarily come off like they're talking down to you.
But Kruger did have a good arc, though.
Oh my gosh, Kruger
when he came as Shadow Ranger, that was
This isn't anger. It's justice.
Who do y'all think had the most iconic moment? Tommy Oliver coming back as Black Dino Thunder, or Kruger and Cat coming back as PD Rangers?
That's a good.
I have to get. It's close, but I have to give it to Kruger. Back in black.
No, I have to give it to Tommy, bro. No one expected Tommy to morph, bro.
I'm gonna give. I gotta agree with Kid on this one. It's gotta be Tommy.
Look, because when he came back and said one thing about Dino Gems, they choose you. You don't choose them. Number two,
aren't you a little old for this, Tommy?
He said they go good well with Dino Morphers, and when he smacked it, I was like,
it's Tommy.
And he said, I may be old, but I can still pull it off. Dino Thunder power. I was
like, what about Zeo? Zeo was pretty cool. I liked how they brought back Jason as the
Black Ranger.
Yeah, the Black Ranger. That was pretty cool.
Gold.
Gold
I was kind of like, now the thing about Zeo, did you not know Zeo is the most powerful Power Rangers in the whole morphing grid because of the Zeo crystal?
I think I've heard of that because
I thought that was strictly in the Boone comics, but I have heard of that.
Yeah,
they touch on that in the comics.
Like they're like, and no other Rangers will be able to beat the Zeo Rangers. Like the Zeo crystal not only gives them morphing abilities, but it like basically like 10 times their 10 times their like stamina. They're basically have like an arc reactor in them, basically. Kinda. And all it is a Zeo crystal.
Actually, that brings up a good point. With Forever Red, how is Tommy able to morph into a Zeo Ranger if that power was taken away?
Well, here's another theory. Remember Thunderstorm, Dino Thunder, and Ninja Storm? Ninja Storm was able to go back. Episode. They was able to go back and team up with Dino Thunder, but they was only able to unlock their morphers for like maybe 3 morphs, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So maybe Tommy got a maybe that was his last
morph.
You know,
the Master Morpher in a later season, so it's
well, he didn't get the Master Morpher till what? What Dino Charge or Dino
Ninja Steel, something like that.
Ninja Steel was Ninja Steel before they did that. And by the way, Tevye is starting up a fight here. He says Turbo was bad. It's because it was car Zords as opposed to like a T-Rex.
But the kid actor who replaced Rocky was annoying. Come on.
The kid actor, I was like, no, I do not like. It was so weird when he would morph. He gets taller. I'm like, oh, this is just weird, and he still has the kid voice. I'm like, oh, this just looks horrible.
Now, what about Ziggy from RPM? I'll say he's probably one of the most goofiest motherfuckers I ever know.
Ziggy is comedic perfection. Look, Ziggy is solid in the comedic.
I remember his first morph. Like, this man, the girl took the morpher from him and he flicks it, and then he's just like, oh, I'm a ranger. I don't want to be a ranger. Bro, what
Ziggy was kind of a coward, but he did play his role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but do you guys remember that SPD Ranger where the janitor writes home and tells his parents he's the Orange Ranger, and then they give him a fake morpher or something like that, so he doesn't have to disappoint his parents?
Oh, boom!
That was so good. I love that.
I couldn't stomach the episode as a kid. I just felt sorry for him. Like, come on.
Or how about when Sam comes back as Tinkerbell?
Oh, the Omega.
He comes back as a pixie.
I forgot about that until you brought that up. Thank you for reminding me.
He's a pixie. What the? I will say the coolest part of SPD is when the command center transforms into a Megazord.
That long Megazord transformation pissed me off every single time.
Really?
You got to sit there for 5 minutes to watch a whole building transform, and I'm just like, bruh.
Well, first it transforms it into the tank form, and then it goes to its location, and then it like stands up. That takes time.
But to be fair, I got a guilty pleasure for Lightspeed just for Titanium Ranger, because technically,
that was dope.
No, I have to go with Lost Galaxy, man.
Yes,
Lost Galaxy was pretty good.
I liked Lost Galaxy. I like the. By the way, I think it's funny if you look at Lost Galaxy. The first episode, they reused the alien Colonial Marines costume. I'm like, where have I seen that? Oh yes.
Yeah, they
Like,
used a lot of reused props in the early seasons. A lot of reused props.
But still, I see. I think that Lost Galaxy has its charm. It's not my favorite season, but I still enjoy it. I like the crossover they did with Lightspeed.
Yeah, arguably one of the few seasons actually show a ranger dying. But yeah, Lightspeed Rescue was okay.
That was in space. That
No,
that crossover where the Pink Ranger died.
Still, that was Lost Galaxy. That was their team up episode.
Oh yeah. It's just said Lightspeed. So I was like, no,
I
Lightspeed
thought I
Ranger
said Lost
died.
Galaxy. My fault. That was our team up episode.
And then they had In Space's sister take over as the Pink Galaxy Ranger. So I was like, oh, okay, that's actually a good arc for her. I like that.
Yeah, Lost Galaxy. That was probably one of the few Power Rangers series that I had on VHS as a child, besides Wild Force, SPD, and Time Force.
I had the entire Transformers Armada TV series taped like from the TV.
Oh yeah, back in the day, you was able to record that thing straight from the TV.
Yeah, I had a bunch of Life Alert commercials on my Transformers, but it was still cool.
Which is worse, Transformers Beast Wars or Energon?
Energon. Beast Wars is fantastic.
To be fair, the animation is stiff.
Animation is stiff, but that's because of the time period.
Okay.
To be clear, I like both. I just like Beast Wars more.
Okay.
You got a dude that transforms into a half eagle, half wolf. You can't get any cooler than that. Except my only problem with that is the scale, because when they show up in the arc and they see the Autobots are like this big, and the Beast Wars guys are like that. I'm like, aren't you the same race? Aren't you the same alien race? I don't get this.
Say what you will about the Babeverse, they were pretty solid for the most part, except for last night, because we don't talk about last night.
In terms of the transforming animations, those were dope as hell, dude. Because it looked like pieces were going somewhere.
I feel like when they dumped Shia LaBeouf, the whole franchise fell apart.
Yeah, but when they're leaving in VFX in the Sears Tower in Hong Kong, yeah, I think the quality is kind of like, they were like, now we're done. But what would you guys say is like the worst Transformers series? Me, it's Transformers Animated.
Transformers Animated was just childish. It was just kiddie.
Yeah, it was horrible.
It was more annoying than it was. Wait. Yeah. Looking back, it was pretty bad.
The best one is Transformers Prime. That is absolutely the best series. What about you, kid?
It's kind of hard to say. I like them. I like a lot of them, honestly.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
We're still talking about power.
Actually, yeah. Tevia brings up a good point. You had Power Rangers technically fighting Power Rangers with the Psycho Rangers. That was stupid. And they came back.
What about like Jungle Fury. You got the Spirit Rangers.
Yeah.
Same concept.
And the SPD had like evil Power Rangers too with I think it was
technically they were dirty cops who happened to have morphers, but that's a separate conversation.
But SPD was cop Power Rangers. That's really what it was. Although the thing about also what I did like, I liked whenever a Megazord combined with another Megazord. That was so, like in Ninja Storm, where 3 of them combined into one like Megazord. I was like, yeah, that's so dope. Particularly, they bring in the heavy metal soundtrack as they're combining, and I'm like, yes, I feel like I'm playing Doom right about now.
Yeah, what about I like Samurai.
Samurai was actually it was okay.
They literally combined every Megazord into one.
Of all the Nickelodeon seasons, it was arguably the best one out of all the Nickelodeon seasons.
Of the Nickelodeon seasons, I think my favorite is Ninja Steel. Even if the Red Power Ranger constantly he said the word, this is going to be epic
puns.
too many
Ninja
times.
Steel had too many puns.
True. And he kept saying, well, this was epic. And I'm like, oh, dude, shut up. Let's see. What do we have with this? Oh, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Look at how badass that looks. And then you had the, it was like it was like all three Power Rangers, and you also had a configuration where the helicopter one had like cannons that come over the shoulders or like on the arms. So it was like two massive guns over its shoulders. So I'm like, oh, this is dope as hell.
Hold on, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I think it was like, yeah. Was it that one? You also had that. I love that. With the, yeah, I actually had the action figure for that Power Ranger, for that Megazord when the one for the Thunder ones combined too. About that was actually really cool. And see, the thing about it, the reason why I think that they could do that mature Power Rangers can work is that that opens up the plots that they can do, because ultimately to keep it kiddie, they have to do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and I kind of fell off because I just got older, but I heard that for the 30th anniversary, we're getting another space theme.
Huh,
that's just what I heard.
At least, and we are getting a reunion episode for Mighty Morphin. It's not going to be the same without Tommy, but that's
on
beyond
top of that, I'm actually glad that they're trying to drift away from dinosaurs.
Yeah, I know. It got old after a while.
You got Dino Fury, you got Dino Charge, and
it is a staple, but at least with Mighty Morphin, you had the excuse of, okay, it's the 90s. This is a much younger demographic, like preschool to early elementary.
Who love dinosaurs.
Hence why with the other two seasons in Sentai they're based on, they stuck with the dinosaur theme.
I will say the most like weird choice for Zord I think ever was the Black Ranger. Was the essentially a Gold Ranger in Zeo.
You're not gonna kill yourself, and I'm not.
Where he had the pyramid. I was like, well, that's odd.
But didn't Brachial do the same thing in Dino Thunder? It's basically the same concept. But I will admit, Brachial was more. Yeah, Brachial was more practical, but I'll give you that.
Here's David Spade as Ra's al Ghul. Oh, God. But here's the difference, though. You didn't have a Megazord surfing off of the Pyramid Zord. You had that with you had it where the White Ranger's Megazord combined with the other Megazords. And then they had them surf down the Brachiozord like it was a wave. And I'm like, yes, this is so dope. And they also had SPD teaming up with Dino Thunder, dude.
Yes, that one was a good one.
Where they bring him to the future, and they're like, wait, what?
Okay, which two seasons had the best team-up episode?
I would say
Wild Force, because of
Forever Red. And I want to say Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder.
Yeah, I would say so, because those were because also the vibes of those two shows work so well. Because here's the thing about crossovers. You can't necessarily do what was the last season. You have to do one where the vibes match. And the vibes before Dino Thunder and Ninja Storm, even the soundtracks, melded so well.
Right. And that morphin sequence of the Dino Thunder and Ninja Storm, that was a good one.
Yeah, I love that. That is honestly one of my favorites. But okay, the other one that I think had a pretty good crossover, arguably that this was a crossover, and MSK is being a little a-hole right about now. Zack Snyder's you would rather watch cockroaches over Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's okay to be wrong, but in terms of of this season that arguably had a great crossover, Megaforce. Everyone showed up except
Literally
for
everybody.
literally everyone.
And I love the Megaforce series of how they found a way to connect to all the fellow Rangers and try to get their unique abilities and stuff like that.
Although it was kind of stupid when like the Black Ranger became the Green Ranger, and they go, okay, so how they change, and they go, oh, it's a really a simple explanation. Alarm goes off.
Footage.
Yeah, exactly.
He goes super and he goes green, and it's just.
What is this? Some type of crossover episode? That's good. I love that. I love that. But now let me ask you this: if you guys could design and this will be a question I'll leave us on. This will be our last topic of discussion. If you guys could design a Power Rangers season, what would it be? And JJheat, I'll start with you.
Oof. If I could design a Power Rangers season, I would definitely stick with a space theme because that's a go-to. I would not rely on the dinosaurs too much. I wouldn't have something as gravitas in space, but definitely as exploration heavy as what Lost Galaxy was. Kind of like a happy medium. That'd be a safe bet for a Power Ranger season for me.
With me, it would be essentially Power Rangers, but in the armed forces.
Military Power Rangers.
That'd be cool.
Wait, Lightspeed Rescue. Beast Morphers to a lesser extent.
No. Lightspeed Rescue does not count.
But they were working for the government.
No, I'm talking about military theme.
For the government.
Military themed, like the Zords are tanks and helicopters and stuff.
Okay.
Oh, but actually, Tevye has a good idea. A season that's all Shattered Grid. I would watch that.
I would. To have Jason David Frank play Dracon and be the villain, I would.
Because that's pretty much Power Rangers Injustice when you think about it, ultimately.
Look, now, before I tell y'all my made-up Power Rangers, I'm actually very sad that we will not be able to see Legend of the White Dragon by Jason David Frank.
No, I think they'll release it.
Depending on how far they got.
It's not finished.
No, but depending on how far they got in filming, because they did say updates are incoming on their Instagram.
Because I'm like, I want to. If that's the last film that Jason was in, I want to see that.
Jared, did you upload your tribute clip for Jason David Frank on StreamYard?
I can re-upload it.
Yeah, because I definitely want to do a tribute before we end things here.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and re-upload that. In the meantime, you guys talk.
Here's my made-up Power Rangers. I would do a 3-way kind of like cross mix-up between Jungle Fury, Wild Force, and Samurai.
Oh, that's a good one.
If I can combine those three and kind of make some kind of...
Okay.
Because I feel like Samurai, I kind of like, they're like... I'll probably keep the Rangers as kind of like ninjas or samurai, whatever. But at the same sort, give them like some sort of like demon or animal spirits or some sort of like that. And
never create a mythology around it. Okay.
Kind of like Mystic Force, but a little more adult-like.
I enjoyed Mystic Force, bro. I know MSK's in the chat and he's going to be freaking out right about now because he hates Mystic Force.
Mystic Force...
It was I enjoyed it, but I don't think it was one of the best.
No, it's just
it was one of the best, but I felt it was pretty decent.
It was all right. It's just it wasn't a conventional season. Red was a jackass. Green was the actual leader, so if he actually swamped them, it would have been a lot better. Green had to actually grow into being a leader because he had a bit of an ego problem.
And blue liked it red.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And Pink was just there.
Yeah, she was just there. She didn't do anything.
And she had that pixie cut too. Like,
speaking of pixie cuts, JJheat, I started watching. I watched the half of the first episode. I couldn't finish. I watched the first half of the episode of Birds of Prey. I couldn't finish it. I was like, "Oh, this is crap. I'm done with this." I want to see, is it really that bad as people say? Yeah, it is. It is.
Bro. Remember when your ex threatened that one ex you had that she'll get back to you if the four of us would go through Birds of Prey and you set for the whole movie?
Yes.
You didn't even make it the hour, Mike. No,
No, I didn't. I did not.
And I'm talking about the show Birds of Prey, not the movie.
Oh, the old
the
TV
show.
show.
Oh, the
The
show
show-
on Freeform, it was all right.
It
It was
alright.
horrible. What are you talking about?
No,
It was poorly executed.
poorly executed.
The
but-
quality is just
But compared to the movie version,
compared to the movie, it's a masterpiece. Compared to the movie, it's freaking Zack Snyder's Justice
Oh,
League.
what is y'all take on the new Super Mario Bros. Movie?
It looks pretty decent. I'll enjoy it.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
think
the
I'll
new
watch it.
trailer, they released the Mario Kart thing. I was like,
Jack
okay.
Black as Bowser. I could not think of a perfect casting.
No,
That works really well.
you got Chris Pratt as freaking Mario.
Yeah, it works pretty well. Turds of Prey. That's his new nickname on the show. Turds of Prey.
And bro, we're actually thinking of an April Fool's prank because we're actually gonna have the show on April Fool's, so we have
Because
to
it falls. The idea is, all right, the other co-hosts pick what we have to watch. It has to be something we hate, and we have to defend it like we're fans of it. So in other words, I have to watch the 2017 cut of Justice League and act like I'm a fan of the 2017 cut of Justice
Look,
League.
as long as y'all don't make me sit there and watch scenes from Dragon Ball Evolution, I'll be
Oh
fucking great.
gosh, no,
No, man, I would not do that to my worst enemy.
no, dude. There are things that you would do, but no.
Dragon Ball
wouldn't put-
Evolution was horrible.
It's indefensible.
It's that or like the Avatar: The Last Airbender movie.
Oh my god. The last Airbender was
Ong
bad.
with Ong.
Sokka.
Did you watch the source material? Oh, but I love how they're making a new Avatar show, and then the original creators leave. Like, oh no.
Yeah, it's apparently Aang after he defeated the war. He's like grown up and stuff.
I don't want that. Anyway, good thing She-Hulk takes the bad spot because for the most part, She-Hulk was like, ugh.
If you could actually ignore or stomach the finale, it was okay.
Okay, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. It was not as horrible as people say it is, but it's not as great as people say it is. Let me put it that way. So on that note, I'm going to actually call it, but before we call it, I'm going to play one more time my tribute to Jason David Frank, which has reached 1,000 views. So there you go. So again, this is a little clip that I happen to throw together as a tribute to Jason David Frank. So here we go.
It's morphin' time!
Bro, that Dracon looks so good.
A moment of silence for a legend. Thank you.
All right. Real quick before we end. Okay.
So,
Raimi has reminded us. Okay. I have to show this. This is the worst part about the She-Hulk show. All right. So Scar is the son of Hulk, who's basically Conan the Barbarian Hulk. Actually, here, I'll give you a visual from the comics. All right. Here's what Scar is supposed to look like as a comparison. All right. So let me get a good picture. This is Scar from Marvel Comics. Hang on. So he's Conan the Barbarian Hulk.
basically,
Mhm.
This was Scar in She-Hulk. Wait. Yeah, right there. Stop at CBR. Look at that. We went from this to that.
and technically that's a bald cap. That's not even an actual hair. It's a
Yeah, that's
bald
not.
cap.
Yeah, it's a ball cap. Yeah.
But I'm like, why would you? And actually, yeah, still had better CGI than She-Hulk. It was astounding how bad the She-Hulk effects were. I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
At best, it did its job. It was a crapped out project to secure Marvel's acquisition of the license for Hulk characters, and it was a transition piece for Daredevil Born Again.
And yes, the Namor design was horrible. I didn't like it. That's one of the things. Even though I tolerated the Namor character, I just couldn't get past his designs. And did you hear the actor's like, "Oh yeah, Namor would totally kick Aquaman's ass," and I'm like, "No."
Aquaman would put the work on that man.
Exactly. Particularly Jason Momoa's Aquaman. Oh, he would completely trounce him. You're talking about Khal Drogo. You're talking about like Conan the Barbarian. You're talking about the guy who made Aquaman a badass. I'm tired of these actors going, "Oh yeah, my character's the best." No,
Trying to
it's
act
not.
bigger than what they are, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
it's part of the course.
So on that note,
So, kid, you want to tell us what's going on your channel?
Yeah, what's up?
What's going on my channel? I stream Apex Legends.
Ooh,
Okay, a gaming channel in the brand.
Yes, sir.
there you go.
That's strictly just Apex, though.
That works.
Okay.
That works. It's a good game. I enjoy that. Hey, what you got going on?
Just another playthroughs with SoTor. I'm actually trying to get an anime podcast set up. The first episode is going to be me and my bro. He actually featured on a few of my early videos when I first started out. I'm definitely going to try to meet up with him and get this podcast going. And then as we move up with more episodes, I'll definitely get the rest of Comics League on the board. And hopefully Kid Takeoff will join the Comics League family.
Hell yeah.
And speaking of the Comics League family, we actually have a website coming up pretty soon. Jared, you want to talk about that?
Well, the website's out. I'm just going to update it to have all my new co-hosts on the website. I can actually pull that up real quick. So this is what the Comics League site actually looks like right about now. So let me do this. I've had this for about, I'd say at the beginning of this year is when we formulated it. So here's the main site. We can find all of our content. In fact, I'll put the link in the chat. So essentially, and this is updated regularly. So essentially, you have like all of my content on here. At some point, I'm gonna add as soon as I have next little blurb, I will add him to. I will add all three of you, JJheat, Taladia, and Nick to the site, so we'll be able to be more indicative of who the team is. And in terms of Comics League content, we are talking about this week about I may do another room tour because I haven't done one of those in months. So we're probably gonna roll with that one, so you guys can see my castle, all my toys, including my replica of the Aquaman Trident, which means I rule Atlantis. So on that note, guys, it was a pleasure, and stay heroic, everyone. We will see you.
Wait, you sure you don't want my kid to add his information so people can follow him?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Drop your stuff in the private chat, and then and then I'll put it in the comments.
All right, that should be my YouTube, and I don't have a Twitter for my YouTube account yet.
All right, so just look this up on YouTube, everyone, and
it's a red Apex logo.
The red Apex logo. So just throw onto that and follow him. Any friend of JJheat is a friend of Comics League. And fun fact, JJheat started off as just a regular viewer, and then we liked him so much we adopted him.
Well, technically he's my brother, but I appreciate the gesture.
Yeah. So there you go. On that note, everyone, stay heroic, and we will see you in the next one. JJheat, you have a word that you want to say to the fans?
Kenobi!